In Jewish tradition, we have hundreds of blessings. Blessings we recite at appointed times or before specific actions, and blessings we recite should we happen upon the opportunity to recite that blessing. Among these blessings, we learn that we should recite blessings before and after each and every meal. Actually, our rabbis teach that for many foods, as long as we consume a kazait-sized portion, which is roughly an ounce or the size of an olive, kazait is like the size of an olive, that we're required to recite blessings both before and after that meal or snack. Of course, none of these instructions are specified in our verse from Deuteronomy, but it is that verse that is the source for our now elaborate and intensely specific practice that we have of reciting blessings when we eat. If we're going to interpret our verse from Deuteronomy literally, then this would mean that we should really actually only say blessings at the end of a meal, not at the beginning. We ate, we're satisfied, and so we bless. That seems to be the order in our verse. But we know that we also say blessings at the start of a meal. So what's the difference between those that we might say at the beginning and those that we say at the end? The blessings we say at the start of the meal are very specific to what we are eating. We have blessings for bread, for wine, for food that grows on trees, for food that comes from the ground, for grains, and for food that doesn't grow in soil. If there is bread in our meal, which is preferable for the rabbis, then hamotzi is sufficient and kind of covers everything. No additional blessing is necessary. And we are then also required to recite Birkat HaMazon at the end of the meal. Birkat HaMazon is not required if bread was not consumed. In those cases, we have other post-meal blessings that we can choose from. All of the pre-meal blessings give thanks for the specific food that we're about to eat. While we might assume that the blessings after the meal are similar in nature, thank you for this delicious meal that I just had, the blessings after are actually much broader. They cover a broader scope. There are 4 parts to the Birkat HaMazon. First, a blessing for God who sustains the world. Second, we thank God for everything, specifically focused on the land and more specifically focused on the land of Israel. Third, we include a request to protect and rebuild Jerusalem. Why not? And finally, there's a more general praise. Our rabbis saw the blessings recited as an impetus for broadening our awareness and gratitude for God, for Israel, and for the world, and not just gratitude for the food that we consumed. A chance to pause and hold all of that, possibly 3 times a day. Just as the Israelites were being reminded in our verse from Deuteronomy of the abundance of the land of Israel, so too are we supposed to be mindful of the same. And rather than only concerning ourselves with the gifts and blessings that we glean from the land of Israel, our blessings are meant to transcend the entire process of eating. It includes the table that we're eating at, the company that we might be eating with, the land our food comes from, and even our hopes for the world we live in more broadly. This year, as we move into the celebration of food, I would also be remiss to not also call our attention to the almost 29 million Americans who suffer from an eating disorder sometime over the course of their lifetime. If this describes you or someone that you love, then you know that eating does not always lead to satisfaction. You know that food can be so fraught that it can be nearly impossible to find any sliver of gratitude or blessing in a meal. Eating enough, eating too much, eating so that our body can reap the appropriate nutrients and energy is a process that might not only consume one's meal times, but can consume one's life. I pray that our focus on food this year will allow us to also create space to speak open and honestly about these struggles. Too often, eating disorders are experienced shamefully or in isolation. May we continue to foster Kehila Kadosha, a sacred community who not only celebrates with one another during a Shabbat meal, but who also supports one another through our struggles. Yes, food is fuel, but food is also so much more than that. It's a signifier of culture. It's a vessel of memories and a thread that weaves together family and community. This year, food will make a prominent appearance in our community. And I'm not just talking about some bagels after minyan and the epic name cake served at a B'nai Mitzvah Oneg. This year, we will focus on food. We will learn the role of Jewish traders in the chocolate trades from our chef in residence, while we also share recipes with each other in our community cookbook. There's still time to get them in, please do. We will have the opportunity each month to come together for a Shabbat dinner as we relish in the way a meal can serve as an impetus to bring community together and to build deeper relationships and connections. We will explore the Jewish practice of kashrut, or keeping kosher, in new ways that this community can feed your mind, your body, and your soul. Shana tova u'mituka. We turn back in our Machzorim to page 125 as we prepare to move into our Musaf service. Thanks. Would you like to nigun a little bit while they? Would you like to nigun a little bit while they do this?
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
Hmm? We turn to page 125, and I want to invite those who are staying for the remainder of our service to please rise. And we will first move through a silent Amidah. This is a time to pray on your own before we come together later for the repetition of our Amidah on page 141. So I invite you to take time moving from pages 125 through to page 139, using the words of our Machzor or acknowledging the words in your hearts.